Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel, and today we're going to be discussing something that has been brought up many times on stream, and that is going to be Crowfall versus New World, what makes both of these games unique, and why I'm going to be picking Crowfall for 2021. I've had a good chance to experience both games. I've played a couple hundred hours of New World between their NDA and closed beta, and I've been playing Crowfall for over a year now through multiple testing stages and their launch. Because I'm more new to New World, I asked my good friends Blamepack and Utreyu, who have put even more hours than I have into the game, to make sure I didn't miss anything for the New World part of this video. For the sake of video length, I'm going to focus on key components that make up each MMO and comparing them to one another, otherwise this video could rightfully be hours long. Now let's dive into the video. To begin, we have to understand some core differences between the two games. Crowfall is a pure player versus player sandbox MMORPG experience. In Crowfall, the players don't know what's going to happen. The developers don't know what's going to happen. Every choice the player base makes changes the outcome of what to expect from each scenario. While in New World, it's a bit different. New World is a PvPvE sandbox theme park experience. In New World, you are given many different sandbox feeling choices, but you will have a number of theme park directions to take. What this causes between the games is, for New World, you will simply get in line with other players like a theme park and pick what activities you want to do, and go out and do them. Some of these activities might feel the same, but they are all designed to be fun and reward you at the end, keeping you busy in the MMO. You aren't forced to PvP flag, with a number of PvE objectives you can complete peacefully. For New World, you'll be grinding over 60 levels over a decently long time to reach the endgame content. For Crowfall, you have to ask yourself and decide what you personally want to accomplish or how you personally want to contribute to group goals for the day. If you can't decide, the game doesn't give you simple to-do lists in front of you to accomplish. The game promotes thinking for yourself and problem solving, because just doing what other people ask won't always progress your own character. Everywhere you go in a campaign world in Crowfall, you are in danger. Every day you log in, a different event could be happening involving player sieges and random hot zones across every world, always offering something for you to do. For Crowfall, the entire game is designed around this endgame gameplay loop, so you won't spend little to any time reaching these endgame activities compared to New World. Now let's start discussing the content of each game and the ways of reaching it. Crowfall's main game loop is revolved around campaign worlds, where guilds compete to collect campaign rewards based on their performances. Campaign worlds are procedurally generated and offer completely unique environments and potential each time they are created. At the end of the campaign, the world is destroyed with a winner chosen and rewards given to the participants. Within campaigns, you will go to war with other guilds and create alliances to defeat similar enemies with other guilds, with these player politics being different amongst every campaign that you enter. Lots of players enjoy the harvesting and crafting aspect of Crowfall that leads them to making lots of money or producing very powerful equipment for themselves and their friends to use in combat. Siege battles involving castles, keeps, and forts take place, with a number of random campaign card goals to fight over, with up to 200 players at each of these siege battles partaking. Campaigns could last a week, a month, 3 months, it all varies depending on the rule set that you join. In my eyes, Crowfall brings back critical thinking and problem solving on the player's behalf, in an MMO, in a genre that has taken most of the critical thinking and problem solving away from the player nowadays. This ultimately leaves Crowfall feeling extremely dynamic between every experience you find, between each month or each week you play the game. New World is solely faction versus faction oriented, with optional PvP and generated rewards and experience for partaking in it. If you don't support the faction you are on, you will hurt the PvP efforts and faction rewards for such. Random groups and guilds will pool together gold to capture territory as the server progresses. Unlike Crowfall, New World has traditional experience progression with levels and experience bars. Everything that you do contributes to progression in some type of way, which is generally nice in New World. If one guild or faction overextends the territory they can hold, they start to get hit with these invasions. These invasions are like endgame PvE objectives that are triggered and you must defend. If you continue to lose these invasions, the territory will become corrupted and lost. This is generally New World's solution to having a persistent world that's being fought over. Unlike Crowfall, which has campaign worlds that are randomly generated and then born anew, New World has these invasions that try and keep each faction in check so they aren't overextending and becoming too powerful for one server. PvE players will have a number of different things to do, including harvesting and crafting at their leisure with a very straightforward crafting system. A good amount of dungeons and questing is available with lots of areas to explore while moving forward. Ultimately, though, there definitely needs to be a lot more PvE content if they're going to continue going this direction for New World. There's lots of problems presented with the current flagging and PvPvE system of New World, including PvE players influencing and profiting off the PvP players, as well as guild and faction domination on servers without character server transfers offered. So, while lots of these problems are presented, I think that New World, still has a whole month before launch before they have a chance to fix all of these things. Character progression and gearing progression is quite different across both games. In Crowfall, you are thrown into God's Reach at the start. This is essentially Tutorial Island, where you will learn the basics of the game and level up to the point where you can start experiencing the real community-driven MMO. The leveling process is at maximum 6 hours long if you follow it quickly, with an optional VIP character boost that shortens the process. You are immediately given access to all parts of endgame Crowfall at this point, once you have left God's Reach Tutorial Island. From here on out, your entire character progression and story is in your hands. Every choice you make and every direction you choose to go will uniquely shape what your character will potentially become. You have the option to start building your character into becoming a master harvester or crafter that is known for some of the most legendary gear amongst their friends, or mastering a PvP build that becomes a core part of the team or your survival in the open world. You can join or start a large guild in their conquest for a campaign, partaking and reaping the benefits and rewards for doing so. Or you can focus on your own personal goals for a campaign, like getting rich with resources to export for the future. Instead of traditional experience bars and levels, in Crowfall you are given a wide range of detailed attributes. As you become a better crafter, harvester, or fighter, your very specific attributes for your each specialized profession will increase depending on your quality level. Your quality level is determined by something called a discipline rune and your vessel, which is Crowfall's unique way of character building. Discipline runes are specific to the profession you are choosing to do or the combat build you are attempting to use. Vessels are your character's base attributes that can be changed and handpicked depending on your character's build purpose. Improving your discipline runes and vessels requires the combination of many different crafters and harvesters working together, so you'll typically be working with other players or paying certain individuals to help you get things done for your personal progression efficiently. Gearing in Crowfall is done solely through crafting or paying other people to craft. At the very beginning of the game, you'll be able to get equipment from mobs in the open world, but this open world equipment has a fraction of the benefits that crafted equipment will offer you, and it will also break down much more easily. Every type of equipment has a specific type of craft that is associated with it. Weaponsmithing, woodworking, jewelry crafting, and making armors are all different crafts that must be learned by specific people that are building into that type of craft on their character. Crafted gear will offer you specific attributes that are very important to most character builds to maximize their performance, including gear for crafters and harvesters. For this reason, crafted gear progression is extremely important in Crowfall and can completely change how your build performs. However, all gear in Crowfall breaks down and there's no way to completely repair it. You're going to have identical copies of the gear that you're trying to use, or you're going to have to constantly upkeep the gear that you're using in order to stick with whatever character build you're trying to use. In New World, you are thrown into Eternum, a fictional island off the coast of the Americas in the mid-1600s. You will follow a storyline-based progression and quest that will progress your level and attributes along the way in a relatively linear fashion. Each city you go to will have their own mini-stories to follow, and each city owned will have their progression and reward experience for assisting and upgrading them. You will have the option to focus on faction progression quests, PvE, or PvP that will reward you and benefit your faction. You will have to reach level 50 before you technically have access to all endgame content, and it will take you a very long time before you will typically reach that level, well over 24 hours of gameplay. And these quests feature something similar you have seen from previous MMOs in the past, including PvP quests similar to Elder Scrolls Online Cyrodiil that actually reset if you die in New World. You'll come across dungeons and important story parts as certain climaxes in your leveling process that will signal you have reached a new checkpoint essentially in your progression. You'll play through this with lots of previously mentioned features of the game until you are level 60, grinding your way all the way there. Gearing in New World at the highest level is generally rewarded to the crafters because, like Crowfall, they get to pick their specific attributes that they would like for their character builds. Unlike Crowfall, crafting and harvesting in New World is extremely linear. All of the recipes are listed in front of you, and it is overall very plug and play and easy experience to level your crafter and get gear, as anyone can do it who has the time. Crafting is also tied to your faction and city. Depending on your location and how much your faction has done, you will have different level crafting benches that enable higher level crafting and certain tier materials for certain tier armors or items. You can also socket all items in New World similar to Path of Exile, with enchants or stats that you need or want for your build, and there is also gearing progression associated with mob drops, story quests, and dungeons, and the faction vendor. So you do have lots of sources of gear to keep you well equipped until you reach the max level and start looking for that specific crafted gear. Gear quite simply has a gear score system that allows the player to identify what piece could potentially be better for them to wear, and all gear breaks down that can be repaired from salvaged materials that you receive from dismantled gear. In Crowfall, the diversity and options of unique character builds amongst 12 races, 200 in-game disciplines, and 15 domains built into 33 promotion classes currently playable in-game feels almost endless. Theory crafting is absolutely amazing and extremely in-depth in Crowfall, which is very difficult for many players to approach. Simply picking an attribute or maining a talent tree direction to go is even hard in Crowfall, with the many good but hard choices in front of you for character building. Crowfall is not a one-size-fits-all game. It offers choices on how you build your characters, offering a wide set of options, giving players the ability to create very specialized roles. It is worth reviewing the available choices before diving into creating your character. In New World, character building is quite linear, but you are still given a variety of options. You can pick between 2 weapon types of 11 weapons to choose from. Each weapon type is given 2 talent trees to build from, with linear directions under each talent tree. Overall, you will find unique and cool combos across weapons, but the builds will be quite linear and similar across the board. Crowfall has some very immersive and intense combat. By standard, you have at least 10 ability bar slots, an ultimate, a dodge for mobility, the ability to sprint in combat, and retaliate out of crowd control. Once you have put time into learning your character build, the skills, the mechanics, and learning all of your discipline powers, it can feel so immersive the combos that you can pull off with your unique character build that you create in Crowfall. Melee characters have to be pretty accurate with their ability ranging and landing, while ranged characters have a much more easier soft target with their mouse that can be more easily landed in fast-moving moments. This leaves PvP feeling great, but Crowfall AI in PvE is pretty lackluster and not purposely worth seeking. New World has some very new and unique action combat mechanics they are bringing to the table for MMOs. They feature a faster-paced Dark Souls feeling combat in a way. You are given the ability to dodge, block with melee, use 3 abilities across 2 weapon types equipped at once, and ranged projectiles feel amazing, requiring some pretty precise aim to pull off. But it also feels like a whole lot of left clicks and not a whole lot of dynamic abilities with different outcomes. The same can be said for melee. It feels like a whole lot of left clicks and dodges with a handful of flavorful combos for the melee abilities. Granted, only 3 abilities makes you want to be smart and land them at given times. I can't help but feel the combat feels not very dynamic or different amongst engagements. Overall, I think there's lots of pros and cons to each game, and I want them both to succeed. I personally favor the critical thinking and hardcore aspects of gameplay that Crowfall promotes, and the pure PvP dynamic that I enjoy from it as well, alongside the continually dynamic content you experience in Crowfall that always feels like it can offer a unique experience. That is just why I'll be playing Crowfall myself. I think New World offers a lot of content for players that may enjoy the style game that they are trying to create as well. Thank you for making it to the end of the video. I hope you guys enjoyed my thoughts on Crowfall versus New World and why I'll be playing Crowfall in 2021. I hope you all have a wonderful morning, afternoon, evening, wherever you guys may be in the world right now, and I will see you guys later.